Hello everyone, I'm back for a new session. But today I thought I won't tell you what we are going to do. I'm going to shoot five questions for you. Five questions, right? And the answer to that is in a word. As soon as you guess the answer to that, you will know what we are going to discuss today, right? All right. The first question. Um, they can live up to 50 years. The average lifespan is around 17. Okay. Scientists believe, they've studied their ratio of their brain and the body, and they believe that they are the probably the second most intelligent creature taking their place after human beings. All right, that's your second clue. Third, they have two stomachs. One which helps them to store the food, and the second that helps them for digestion. Okay. The third, sorry, that was the third. Now the fourth, it is believed that one part of their brain remains alert and awake all the time, because that's the only way that keeps them safe from predators, right? That's your fourth clue. And the fifth clue is their body temperature is more or less 96.8 to 98.6 degrees, like human beings. Yes. uh, have you got it? I'll give you the then I'll give you one very easy clue. About 2 weeks ago, if you were following the newspapers, some of them were sighted off the coast of Bengal. Now you've got it. Yes, I know all of you have got it. I'm talking about dolphins. Yes, they are very intelligent, and there are about 40 different species. They are as small as 3 to 4 feet, and as large as about 30 feet. That's what I believe. And another very important thing that I found out, they do have teeth, but they use the teeth to catch the prey, but they never chew the food. They swallow it as a whole. Interesting, right? So we will be doing the dolphin, so that means you need your poetry and books with you, and definitely a pencil. And we before we start the poem, I need to tell you something about the poet Carol Ann Duffy. There are many firsts about her. She's the first woman, the first Scottish woman to have been appointed Britain's poet laureate. She was appointed in 2009 until last year. They have a 10-year tenure. So till last year, she was the first woman and the first Scottish woman poet laureate of Britain. At present, she is a teacher at Manchester Metropolitan University. She's known for her very emphatic themes of oppression and discrimination. She has written about the underprivileged. She's written about the marginalized, and as you can see, her she is never, I mean, if you have read anything about her, you will know that she's never squirmed to raise a voice against whatever ills have plagued society, even if it is something that will uh, topple accepted norms, especially when you're in a conservative and very traditional atmosphere of Britain that we're talking about, right? While I was reading about this poem, there's something very interesting that I came about in a paper published in 1970 by a British psychologist, Richard D. Ryder. He uses a term called speciesism. Like we have racism when we show our this entire discrimination against races and kind. Speciesism is the kind of the word, as it suggests, is when we are discriminating against a species. So probably the Dolphins by Carol Ann Duffy is an example of this speciesism that does exist in our human world. We do believe, being at the top of the food chain, that everything below us is under our control. So, speciesism is rather a very ingrained idea in our minds as human beings, right? All right. So, you're ready with your text and the poem. Please, as we start, before we start, four stanzas, please number the lines. You have 6, 12, 18, 24. Yes, and as you can see, this is the poem is a kind of a dramatic monologue where you have a speaker who is airing his, her, or its views, and there could be other characters. Like in this poem, you have other dolphins, and you have the human, the man there. Yes, as so vital in this poem. They are the characters, but you don't hear them speak. So it becomes a kind of a dramatic monologue. And of course, you must remember that the use of, though it is the dolphins, remember, so the use of we, yes. So you don't have a first person, a one person narrative. You have the dolphins speaking for the entire species who have been subjected to speciesism in the hands of man, right? So, with this in mind, we move to the first stanza. Okay, right. World is what you swim in or dance. It is simple. We are in our element, but we are not free. Outside this world, you cannot breathe for long. The other has my shape, the other's movement forms my thoughts, and also mine. There is a man and there are hoops. There is a constant flowing guilt. Now, you see, it is the life of a dolphin, so we don't have a rhyme scheme. It has to be free flowing, right? And also, if you notice, they're very short lines. You have periods in the middle of a sentence. Yes, you have run on lines, you have end stop lines, you have breaks in between. This is very symbolic of what? Can you guess? Yes. It is symbolic of thoughts of a very disturbed mind. What happens when we are disturbed? We keep rushing from one thought process to another. One thought comes to our mind, we discard it, and we think about something else. Or we think about a series of agonizing doubts in our mind that comes forward as, like it has in the first stanza, very short staccato phrases and sentences, right? So the very style tells us about what the mood is in this poem. It is one of anxiety, it is one of despair, it is one of uh, great pain. Yes, it is a very disturbing uh, thought that is reflected here, because there is something that is lost, which is an uh, which is a quality that is ingrained when we are born in this world, given to us, gifted to us by the Maker, the thought, the sense of freedom, right? And that, when is lost, it is probably the end of life itself. So, here the world is not the world that we see around, it is the world, the water world that we're talking about. It's a world of the dolphins, the water, the oceans, the seas, right? That's where we see the dolphins. World is what you swim in or dance. It is simple. What is simple? Swimming and dancing, the freedom of expression. Yes, the freedom of expression, not choreographed. We go wherever we want, we dance, we enjoy. The, the expression of joyous independence is swimming and dancing, right? An expression, that is the expression that is so beautifully written here. World is what you swim in or dance. It is simple. It's an elementary fact of our existence. We are here. We enjoy life. The sense of freedom. We are in our element. Yes. Next sentence. We are in our element. We are here. What is the element? The water. But we are not free. So the contrast is immediately established. Freedom is what is guaranteed to us by the Almighty, the Maker. But that freedom has been taken away by us, from us. By whom? Who is to blame for this? And we know that the finger is pointing towards us. Yes. But we are not free. We are there, we are in the water. So you can imagine, like, if you go to an aquarium, if you have an aquarium in your own house, yes, that's the element, but not freedom. You go to see the water world that you have in many of these big cities, and you're watching the different sea creatures, yes, and what are we doing? We are entertaining ourselves by confining of these species who are meant to be free. Right? Outside this world, you cannot breathe for long. You take a fish out of the water, put it on the ground, it's going to struggle, squirm about, because it can breathe only in water. Gills, right? They can breathe only in water. So they squirm about for a few minutes and then they are still. Life is ebbed out of them. So even if you want to jump out of this confined space that we are in, we will not survive. Yes. So we want to survive, so we are here, confined. We accept our confinement. So the acceptance comes because we want to live. Yes. The acceptance comes only for the sense of surviving, though freedom is not granted. In this very stanza, you have two others. Um, you do have other characters. The other characters, definitely one being man, and the other means there are other dolphins. Like I told you, the title is the Dolphin, so there has to be more than one, right? So in the fourth line, you have the mention of the other. The other has my shape. The other's movements forms my thought and also mine, right? So they're echoing each other's thoughts. The dolphins are echoing each other's thoughts. I can see others around me. Yes, I see that their movements are restricted, and my movements are restricted the same way. And these thoughts are being echoed all round the pool when the dolphins see the others of its kind moving within this controlled space, right? And each one is echoing each other's sense of the loss of freedom. Yes. Apart from this, there is the villain of the piece here, the man. Why do I call him a villain? Because he is the one responsible for taking away our freedom. How would you like to be? Um, how would you feel if you were put in a cage? What would you call the person who puts you in a cage? The villain? That's why man here is the villain. And there are hoops. Hoops are probably the whip that controls another person. So here we are controlling, the man is controlling the dolphin through hoops. Yes. We are teaching them what we want to see. We are teaching them what they naturally do not know. We are forcing them to learn to suit our needs. Yes. There is a constant flowing guilt. What is this guilt? Whose guilt? That's a very important question. The last phrase in the last sentence, line 6. There is a constant flowing. Remember the sense, what is this quality of water? It's flowing, right? Right? So guilt is something that is flowing from one to the other. There is guilt in the man. We, as human beings, there is a definite sense of guilt. because we have, what have we taken? We have taken away the sense of freedom from the dolphins, right? So there is this guilt, but the guilt is flowing. So probably a part of the guilt runs on to the sense of, for the dolphins as well. But what are they guilty of? They are guilty of not fighting for their freedom. Remember what I told you? Outside this world, you cannot breathe for long. So they have compromised on freedom by staying within the tank because they want to be alive. Right? So the guilt flows, right? From, as the water flows, it flows from. So the guilt is twofold. We as human beings are guilty of entrapping the free dolphins, and the dolphins feel guilty that they have compromised on their freedom. They have not made an effort to break free from these constraints because they want to be alive. So, to be alive for them at this point in time is more important than a sense of freedom. Yes. So, a compromise is what makes them feel guilty as well. So, the guilt that moves from one to the other, right? So, I hope you've understood the first stanza. Yes, do highlight the points that you feel are important, and remember this entire sense of a man using the hoops. uh, we are actually forcing the dolphins to do something which is against their very nature when they were born. Yes, we are cheating them of their identity. We are cheating them of their sense of uh, well-being, because we have made them objects of, for our amusement. Yes, so that entire thing about simplicity of how the poem begins, it is simple. Free world, dancing, swimming, has changed to something that is ridden with guilt, right? So that is something you have to remember. Okay, now let's move to the second stanza, right? Uh, we have found no truth in these waters, and no explanations tremble on our flesh. We were blessed, and now we are not blessed. After traveling such space for days, we began to translate. It was the same space. It is the same space always, and above it is the man. You see, at the end of each stanza, you see the style. Within the last, above it is the man. There is a man. Above it is the man. The emphasis on somebody who has taken away our freedom is the man. So that's the villain of the piece, right? So we have found no truth in these waters. We have found no truth in these waters. What is truth here? Freedom. What is truth? The free life that we were born into. This water, this tank that we are in, now we get to know that this is an enclosed space. Yes, it is an enclosed space. There is no freedom in the water that flows here, though it's the same element. No explanations tremble on our flesh. No explanation tremble on our flesh. Now, what do you mean by? I mean, it's a very no explanation, that we cannot find a reason why we need to be here, why we have been so exploited. Yes, no explanations tremble on our flesh. These waters do not give us any reason. Yes, it's sort of as if the water itself is a part of this entire punishment that has been meted out to us. Yes, so the water is now the guilty party as well, because the water has become a part of man's tool that is keeping us in this constrained place. Yes. So the we do not get a reason why. No explanations tremble on our flesh. Yes. The water also does not give us any suitable reason about why we are confined. We were blessed and now we are not blessed. We were once free. We were swimming free in the seas out there, but now we are not. Yes. Our freedom is gone forever. After traveling such space for days, we began to translate. You know, the beginning when they came into this tank, probably it's a huge tank, we thought we were in the open seas. But when we moved around for days, we realized the reality hit us that we were in the same space. We were bound. There was an end. Remember, in the sea or the ocean, there will be no end unless they come on to the beach. But here there was an end. Probably a glass. There were glass frames all around, which were like the boundaries. They realized they were confined within a boundary. Think of a four, the four walls of your room, and if there was no door, the sense of being so that claustrophobic, stuck within this space, would be so painful, right? And that is the sense that dawns upon the dolphins, yes, after days, because they swim around, they feel fine, there is water, there is element, the same element, but then they realize no, they are restrained. There is there is a boundary. It was the same space. It was nothing new. We were confined. We had lost our freedom. There's a huge difference we have realized between the large ocean and the small tank or pool that we were confined in. Yes. It is the same space always, and above it is the man. Who has confined us in it? The man. So the domination of man, the 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 villain of the piece. There is the man. There is the man above all. This is the man above all. We are under man's control. That's why above. Yes, understood the same thought. We move to the third stanza, 13 to 18. And now we are no longer blessed. The pain, you see, that's the thought that comes back. For the world will not deepen to dream in. The other knows, and out of love reflects me for myself. We see our silver skin flash by like memory of somewhere else. There is a colored ball. We have to balance till the man has disappeared. Again, last line. You see the style of the poet, Carol Duffy. It's last line, who holds the rein? Who holds the rein? The man. So at the end of each stanza, you have this picture of the man pulling the strings. Yes. Having the full control. Yes, that is what is there. Yes. But now we are no longer blessed, for the world will not deepen to dream in. The world will not deepen to dream in. This tank will not open into a limitless ocean where we can start thinking about our freedom once again. No doors will open out. We will never be out in the open. The uh, the like limitless depth of the ocean will never be there for us anymore. So that is the sad reality. We are no longer blessed because we will be confined in this space forever. The other knows, and out of love reflects me for myself. Yes, I mean, all the dolphins who are here, they realize their present state. Yes, and they know that the sides, the bottom of the pool is all that space that they have. So the other knows, and out of love reflects me for myself. We share each other's pain. We share each other's realization of the loss of freedom. We share each other's anguish. We see our silver skin flash by like a memory of somewhere else. We flash by like a memory of somewhere else. You know, when you see a reflection of yourself, so it's like a glass aquarium. You see a reflection, and that reflection shows what? Memory of somewhere. The reflection shows, you know, when the water is reflected also, probably it's showing them limitless ocean of water. But that reflection, for them, it shows that this is just a shadow. The reality is something else. And that's why the use of the word reflection. We see our silver skin flash by like a memory of somewhere else. Yes, out of love reflect the reflection and the memory of somewhere else. Somewhere else of the freedom that is not there. So our reflections also heightens our sense of despair and loss of freedom. Yes, and 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 that ocean, the limitless ocean, the bottomless ocean, will always be like a memory that will keep coming back to us, but like a flash, and it will disappear, because we know that we cannot we cannot have that reality anymore. Like the first stanza, you had a hoop. In this stanza, you have a ball. All artificial objects of control. Control. A colored ball. There is a colored ball we have to balance till the man has disappeared. So we are playthings in the hands of men. Yes. So what do we have to do? Remember the games that we have seen, these kind of antics that dolphins are taught. On their, you know, they have these long spouts, and they balance the colored ball on top of it. He said yes, and that is the toy. This toy is a symbol of our confinement, a symbol of our imprisonment. Yes, and we are playthings in the hands of men, and we have to keep doing it till man demands it of us. That means till the act is on. Yes, we play our part. When man leaves the stage, we get to stop playing our role. Yes. Yep. So unfortunately, this play that has been created, Shakespeare's stage, all the world's a stage, and we are like mere playthings, is so aptly echoed if we take the state of the dolphins, each of us playing a part. Yes. And for the dolphins, they are all sad parts. Yes. Because for them, what they have lost is their freedom. And who is responsible? Man. So I would leave you with this third stanza. Do go through the poem. We'll come back for one more discussion when we do the final stanza. Draw the thematic. We'll weave all the themes together, the thematic strands, and then discuss the important questions that forms a part of the concluding lesson. Right. So I hope. I'm sure you have understood the poem, because this is a theme that is so rampant in this world of ours, and in the present state that we are in, we can well understand what it means to be imprisoned. Of course, circumstances are different, but even then, when we lose our sense of freedom, even if it is, we know that the end is in sight, we know how painful it can be, and the same feelings, imagine, hundredfold more, because for the dolphins, there is no end in sight. Thank you. Take care. Be happy.